I want to start here because this has been a major talking point in recent times. Stuart Dew, they've lost badly. They've lost badly 2 of their last 3 games. Although against Carlton, they had one horrendous quarter of football,
badly.
which was and they lost that quarter badly, right? But it was like a 9-1 or 9-0.
And it was Carlton.
It was terrible. It was terrible. And then at the weekend, they came up against like a super, super hot Collingwood team.
So they've lost 5 of the 15 games they've lost, Whispers, have been by 7 goals or more.
Yeah. And that's not good enough for a team that's supposedly on the rise, and what Stuart Dew needed to be able to produce for him to be able to maintain his job. Well, the conversation has already, and this is Garry last night on Footy Classified.
Stuart Dew hasn't been told, and I'm not sure where it's standing at board level, but my firm belief is that a decision will be made within the next few weeks, or certainly by the end of the season, but I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't happen by the end of July. And my equally firm view is that Damien Hardwick will ultimately be the coach of the Gold Coast Suns, and that if there is a caretaker appointed at this stage, it looks like being Stephen King.
There's a lot of meat on the bone there.
Well, that's it. When you listen to, sometimes journos, and we don't, not our place to do it, but you get a lot of speculation, but there does appear to be, well, Garry's spoken to someone, she has got these big calls right in the past, and when you start nominating who the standing coach is, who the interim coach is, Stephen King, then that is some level of detail there. So we'll wait and see what happens. But
she went a bit further too, talked about the reasons behind the decision potentially being made, and they are, like match day standards, strategy, preparation. Went on to say that there's this belief that Stewie Dew's relationship with Mark Evans has been really strong, but that's not necessarily the case anymore.
So preparation for big matches and strategy from the coaching panel is, again, a level of detail that suggests there is, she's had a conversation that's very close to what's going on there. Now, you can agree or disagree or believe or not believe, that's fine, but it does when someone of Garry's standing puts that pressure on, that ramps up pressure on Stuart Dew. Not that he wasn't aware of it.
I'm not suggesting in any way that you have been talking to your good mate Richard Goyder in recent times, but do you believe that there would be a push from the AFL in some way to get Damien Hardwick up there to the Gold Coast Suns?
I believe that has been in the past, that has getting a coach of that stature up there has been front of mind for the AFL. Now, Stuart Dew survived the last passage of speculation or time of speculation, which was the middle of last year, and they recommitted to him with Alistair Clarkson looming large. So whether or not they would go again with the same level of acceptance of the Gold Coast Suns running their own boat, I don't know. I would not be surprised if they're having a close look at it.
Because you and I have both heard from other parties out there independently that Damien Hardwick would be open and enticed by the prospect of being the Gold Coast Suns coach.
Well, lots of people have heard that. I mean, Garrett, that's the first one that's gone definitive with it, as far as I understand. I think a lot of people in the footy world heard that as well, but whether or not it was just some people putting 2 and 2 together, coming up with 10, but he's coaching for his future, it would appear. Okay,
can I ask you another question then about this? All right, this is more of a hypothetical because this bloke is currently somewhere else and coaching well, although the team may have dropped off a little bit this year, they could still have a really good, strong run home.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Scott, if you get to the point where they've made that decision, okay, that Stuart Dew's not going to be their coach anymore, they're going to part ways with Stuart Dew.
You got Damien Scott up.
No, you got Damien Hardwick sitting out there. Do you ask the question of Chris Scott as to whether or not he would entertain the idea of being the coach of the Gold Coast Suns? Or do you just...
If Damien Hardwick's your man, then they'll go Damien Hardwick.
No, and that's not the question, though.
Is it?
No, the question is, should they look beyond Damien Hardwick?
But that's my answer is that if they think... And when you got a 3-time premiership coach, well, Chris Scott's a 2-time.
He's a 2-time premiership,
but he's in contract, or he's at a club. If you've got a 3-time premiership coach who's available and you've made up your mind that he's your man, then I don't think you're going to canvass what else is out there. I think you're going after him. All guns blazing.
Okay, I would ask the question if I was there.
Well, you would ask the question of Chris Scott?
Yeah, I would.
To what end?
To see whether or not he'd be interested in being the coach.
And if he said yes, would you want he and Damien Hardwick to both apply for it?
No. I would maybe
Would you
consider
want
him. If you had those two guys, then you can weigh up the difference between those two, and then you can make a decision based on. We've got two guys here who would. It doesn't have to be a public auction here.
No, but I would think those two guys would say, if you want me to coach, make me an offer. I'm not applying for it.
No, they wouldn't want to apply for it.
So
no, they wouldn't. I would answer the question.
But if you went and asked Chris Scott, Damien Harbour could go, well, okay, if you got doubts on me, I'm out.
They do this in a clandestine way,
Surreptitiously.
Gary. Yeah, surreptitiously.
Okay.
As you know, they do this in this way.
Let me take it a
In
step.
fact, you don't even probably speak to Chris Scott. You probably just speak to Chris Scott's manager and say, look, if this was to happen, maybe. Because at this stage, we don't know definitively whether or not Damien Harbour would want to be the coach either.
Well, no, but he's available, isn't he?
Another job might become available that entices him even more.
Let me ask you this, if you want to play hypotheticals. They're both available and both want to coach Gold Coast. Who do you take?
Well, I'd sit down and have a chat to them and then I'd decide.
No. Hypothetically, you've already done that. Who do you take?
Hypothetically,
Turn the tables beautifully.
hypothetically, I would take Chris Scott. Hypothetically, who would you take?
Good question.
Well,
I'd
I'm
take
waiting on an
Hardwick,
answer.
Hardwick right
Okay.
now because he's out and free.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. Now
You'll throw that open.
Yeah.
043390
who would you take? This is a hypothetical, everybody. Yeah. Melbourne's issues. You went into great detail last night. That connective tissue that's still not right or quite there. Can they fix that? Can they fix that? Have they? This is the. I guess this is the big question. Have they got the cattle to fix that? If Fritsch doesn't play for, say, a month or whatever,
so Fritsch-
gives him a bit of experimenting time, maybe.
Big out, isn't he? So the problems and then the solutions is what I was trying to identify last night. So getting it in there is no problem. So they get it in. So then what happens? So connecting is a big issue. So their best connecting or the best inside 50 kicks Fritsch. He's not playing. The second best is Spargo, who's not playing. So maybe you look at bringing Spargo back in as a way of connecting. Maybe Salem, who's a beautiful kick of the footy, comes up the ground. You let Bowie and McVie play those half-back roles. So then all of a sudden you got two blokes that are beautiful kicks that might help you fix that. The biggest issue, they're non-competitive in there. They can't win a contested ball in there. So you got.
Is that the personnel though?
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. So you got to give a rocket to a couple, but then. I thought they'd settled on Petty Van Rooyen, right? You know what both of them are? They're competitors. They are competitors. So that's the two that I would go back to and say you got to compete. And then Cozzy Pickett's going to get a rocket, and Chandler's got to get a rocket because they don't win crumbs either inside their forward 50. And then, as I spoke about, you got to have more than one plan. You have three plans depending on what's going on. You got to be prepared to mix it up. And Petrarca's the name that gets thrown up, who was horrible. We had 5 shots at goal in the first half, missed them all, was magnificent everywhere else. But yeah, isolate him and Cozzy Pickett every now and then. Mix that up. Play Max Gorn one out in the goal square. Mix that up. You got to have maybe 2, 3 or 4 because right now it's not working. And
They'd be aware of this.
No, of course they would. Yeah. This is no surprise to anyone at Melbourne, but
I guess the point
the
is,
other parts of their game are in beautiful order.
No, they are. No, they are. But the problem, as I see it, is they don't necessarily have the personnel to fix that problem.
Maybe not
on their list.
No. Well, I don't think on the weekend. It was Smith, Brown, Melksham, and Harms inside 450 at one stage. No, I don't think any of those.
That doesn't put the fear of God into any defensive unit.
No.
No disrespect to any of those players.
No, that's right. And the conditions, we understand all that, but this has been a long, long problem. So
they weren't great conditions, though, for a forward at the weekend, though, either, were they?
No, but that's what I'm saying. It was not a problem that's isolated to
How many times did they go inside 50? 73, was it?
76.
Yeah, 76 times.
For 4 marks.
Yeah. A lot of them were just banged in there
but
because
I showed
of the
you some
conditions.
stuff.
No, I watched it.
You got to hit there.
I watched it.
You got to hit those kicks, Tim.
I taped it. I went over
You
and
have
over
to.
it. I watched it 15 times before I went
Even
to bed
to the point
last
in
night.
the last minute and a half where Neil Bullen had Lockie Hunter sitting out on his own.
That was though. I think that was a That was a kick off the side of the boot with a wet ball. Like that
I
was.
don't care. You can kick it off his head. You've got to make that kick. Ryan Myers makes that kick.
Oh, sometimes you've got to understand the conditions, though. It was very wet up there. It just slid off the side of his boot. I think you.
I know what it did.
I know you know what it did, but I think you're just being a little bit harsh on the kick.
What, 70?
That was the only one I said to myself before I went to bed last night.
76
I said, Garrity's been a little bit hard on that kick.
I'm off it.
It's been a long time since he played. It's just a little bit tough, that one.
You would have made it. What are Collingwood going to do with McStave, Sidebottom and DeGoey all back? Or certainly DeGoey and Sidebottom. And McStave, did he play on the weekend or did he pull? He didn't. So he may have a game in the VFL. But who goes out of that side?
That's a tough one. That is a tough one. Well, the last in go out, don't they? So Markov goes out. I'm just trying to think who the other players. Did Harrison played at the weekend? I think. Yeah, he goes out.
It's not a good side.
Yeah, no, they have. They got great depth.
He was a sub.